Emmanuel's second chance. In a small, unremarkable town nestled between towering mountains and dense forests, a legend began to stir, one that would defy the laws of life and death. The townspeople whispered of a man, unknown to them, who had risen from his grave. No one knew his past, nor did he speak of it. He walked among them, a shadow in the daylight, leaving kindness in his wake, but revealing nothing of himself. It started on a stormy night. Thunder growled through the sky as heavy rain washed the streets clean of the dust from the previous day. Deep in the cemetery, at the town's edge, a grave that had been long sealed broke open. A man clad in tattered burial garments pulled himself from the earth, his breath ragged, limbs weak. He gasped for air as if taking his first breath anew. The next morning, he wandered into town, barefoot and shivering, yet his eyes burned with unexplainable intensity. He moved through the streets without speaking, taking in the world as though he had never seen it before. The people of Windmere, though wary of strangers, watched him with curiosity rather than fear. An elderly woman named Miriam was the first to approach him. She found him seated outside her bakery, staring at the rising sun. She wrapped a warm shawl around his shoulders and placed a loaf of bread in his hands. "You must be hungry," she said gently. He looked at her eyes, filled with something deeper than gratitude, something profound. She did not speak, but broke the bread and handed half to her before taking a bite of his own. Miriam nodded. She did not press him for words. His actions spoke enough. From that day forth, the nameless man, who would soon be called Emmanuel, became a fixture in the town. He sought no shelter of his own, instead moving from place to place, offering help to those in need. Emmanuel quickly became known for his selflessness. One day, a young girl named Lillian tripped and fell while carrying a basket of apples to the market. The fruit scattered across the cobblestone street, rolling away in all directions. Before she could react, Emmanuel was at her side, gently picking up each apple and placing them in her basket. "Thank you, sir," she said shyly, looking up at his kind but quiet face. He only nodded and patted her shoulder before walking away. Word spread of his kindness. When the blacksmith's son fell into the river, it was Emmanuel who dove in without hesitation and pulled the child to safety. When a beggar shivered in the cold, it was Emmanuel who gave away his own coat, despite having little else to keep himself warm. When the town drunkard lay ill in the gutter, it was Emmanuel who carried him to a doctor, sitting at his beside until he recovered. Yet, for all his deeds, he remained an enigma. He never spoke of his past, never asked for anything in return. When questioned about his origins, he would only smile faintly and shake his head. One day, a traveler from a distant city arrived in town and gasped upon seeing him. "I know that man," the traveler claimed. "He died 2 years ago. I attended his funeral." The townspeople were stunned. Whispers began to spread. Some people believed him to be an angel. Others feared that he was a ghost. But Emmanuel continued his quiet kindness, unshaken by their speculation. As time passed, the people of Windmere found themselves transformed by his presence. They became more generous, more compassionate, more aware of the needs of others. It was as though his silent mission had stirred something in them, a reminder of what it meant to truly be human. The Great Fire. One night, a massive fire broke out in the town's marketplace, engulfing several shops in flames. People scrambled to save their belongings, but the fire spread rapidly. Emmanuel, without hesitation, ran into the burning buildings, carrying out as many people as he could. He wrapped the wet cloth around his face and charged back into the flames again and again, ensuring no one was left behind. When the fire was finally extinguished, the people searched for Emmanuel, but he was nowhere to be found. Some feared the worst. Days later, he reappeared. His clothes singed, his hands burned, but his expression calm as ever. He did not speak of his pain. Instead, he helped rebuild what had been lost, working tirelessly alongside the townspeople. A final gift. As mysteriously as he arrived, Emmanuel vanished. One morning, the people awoke to find no trace of him. His absence left an unspoken void, a missing piece of something they could not name. But the lessons he imparted reminded the baker giving free bread to the hungry. The blacksmith took in orphans as apprentices. The town drunkard once said devoted himself to aiding others in their struggles. Years later, the town of Windmere flourished in ways no one had imagined. Acts of kindness became a way of life, and the spirit of generosity lived in the hearts of all. Legends formed around Emmanuel, the man who had risen from the dead. Some claimed he was a lost soul, granted a second chance to do good. Others believed he had been a test sent by higher powers to remind them of their own humanity. The truth perhaps lay in neither tale or speculation, but in the change he had left behind, a legacy of kindness that endured long after his second life had ended. Some say on certain stormy nights, when thunder growls and the rain washes the town clean, a shadowy figure can be seen walking along the empty streets, pausing only to help those in need. Whether ghost, angel, or man, one thing was certain. Windmere would never forget Emmanuel the stranger, who returned from the grave only to give them the best part of his soul. Moral lessons learned. Kindness transcends understanding. You don't have to know someone's past to treat them with compassion. Giving is more valuable than receiving. Emmanuel sought nothing in return for his actions, yet he enriched the lives of all he touched. Second chances are meant to be used wisely. Life doesn't always give second chances, but when it does, they should be used to make a difference. Actions speak louder than words. Emmanuel never spoke of his past or his purpose, yet his deeds left an everlasting impact. Legacy is defined by how you treat others. The kindness Emmanuel spread continued even after he was gone. Courage in adversity. Even in the face of danger, Emmanuel prioritized saving lives and rebuilding what had been lost. Inspiration is timeless. His story lived on, inspiring generations to be better, kinder, and more selfless. True wealth lies in giving. Emmanuel's riches were not in gold, but in the love and goodwill he shared. The end.